Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Crypto founder predicts timeline for XRP to reach $10,000. Okay guys, let's get into it. Okay guys, you know the drill, you know where my stance is on this, so let's get into it. So, let me put a quick disclaimer out there before I get into this, because we already know how it is when I get into this kind of stuff. You get the people coming in who, they can't just have a civil debate, a civil discourse about this kind of stuff. So just before you want to drop any comments, remember that you are an adult, you're not a child. So let's not do the childish playground insults and things like that. If you want to challenge what I'm saying, then let's just challenge and have the debate. Yeah, we don't have to do this in a way where we're calling each other names and things like that. Remember your age before you post a comment. Okay, so the guy in question here is Jake Claver. Okay. And he's someone who I've seen around, not someone who personally I've watched or anything like that. Again, no disrespect to him. He's just not someone who's come up in my timeline to watch his content, but I've seen him around on X and stuff like that. So I'm very aware that he's someone who, speaks on XRP and other digital assets and stuff like that. So I'm very aware of who he is. Now, okay, so he's speaking about XRP to reach $10,000, and he gives a timeline here. He actually says it's going to reach $10,000 within 24 months. So that's 2 years, right? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to say here, and let me just caveat this. This isn't to, put him down or anything like that. I will expand on this in a moment. But one of the videos that I saw about Jake Claver was someone who'd put a video in my crypto group. And it was basically in regards to Jake Claver making a bold for XRP by the end of 2024. And he was basically wrong. He said XRP was going to be a certain price by the end of 2024, and it didn't happen. Now, let me just say this. It's fine that he's wrong. This isn't me just trying to really put him down. Everybody can make, predictions. I've seen, market analysts, chart analysts who've made wrong predictions. The reason why I'm showing you this, it's not to put him down. It's to show you that he's giving you his personal opinion and his perspective, right? Because I think the thing is with a lot of these predictions, a lot of people just think they're pretty much factual. Right, they hear this stuff and they just take it in like this is an actual fact, or like they've got some kind of inside information. He hasn't, right? He's just someone who does his research, and this is the kind of stuff that he believes. So I just want to make it clear that all he's giving you here is his opinion. There's nothing to really back this up. I mean, obviously he's going to give his reasons as to why he thinks it can happen, but what I'm saying is there's no tangible evidence as to why he thinks this is going to happen. Like, he's just giving you his perspective of, XRP, reaching certain amount of market cap, getting a certain amount of partnerships being used for different things in terms of utility, that kind of stuff, right? So let's get into this then. So, okay. XRP to $10,000 in 24 months. If you ask me, that's not going to happen. So let's get into just a bit deeper of what he said here. So he says here, XRP is programmed to reach $10,000 per coin. I'll be honest with you, I really don't like this word. I see it being used for, XRP mainly, but I saw it used for HBAR as well recently, and I did a video covering that too. And it's like, when you talk about programmed, again, you're talking like this stuff is a guarantee. Like, you're saying like it's destined to reach this price. There's no guarantee in anything. So when people use that kind of word, and this is the kind of thing that I do have a bit of a bit of an issue with, because I think when you use certain wording, it again, like when people are watching this, it makes it sound like this kind of stuff is a guarantee. And it's like, look, no one knows where XRP is going to go, right? Like, as confident as I am that XRP won't reach $10,000, I can't literally guarantee, but I'm intelligent enough to be able to say, look, I can't guarantee anything. I'm very confident it won't happen, and I give my reasonings as to why, but I can't literally say it's a guarantee it won't happen, but I'm as sure as I possibly can be that it won't happen, right? So I'm not here to knock Jake Claver because I don't know him. So I'm not going to say he's here just doing it for views and stuff like that. I don't know. For all I know, he could truly believe that XRP could reach this number, right? So I'm not here to judge him in that regard. He may just genuinely believe this, which is fair enough. We can agree to disagree. Everybody's got their different beliefs on where XRP can go. That's fine. My thing is just the program to reach this kind of number, because again, this is when you start talking about guarantees, like it's just set in stone that this is going to happen, which, as I say, if we all just be honest, nobody knows where XRP is going to go. Nobody does. Not one single person on this earth. Not even David Schwartz knows. So using these words like program, talking like it's guaranteed that it's going to reach these prices at some point, that's the kind of thing I don't like. Okay, so the thing that I'll talk about here then, so like one of the things that he's mentioned is, you know, what was said by David Schwartz in regards to the whole thing when he mentioned, you know, if you want to move $1 million, it's still going to cost $1 million worth of XRP. That doesn't change. Yeah. So, you know, for example, like if like, for example, XRP was $1 million per coin, you'd still have to buy one XRP. But if XRP was, $1 a coin and you needed to move $1 million, you need a million XRP. So the price doesn't change whether it's the value of it is 1 million or you need 1 million worth of tokens, right? So whether it's one token or a million, it's still going to cost the same price. But the argument with this is, well, Jake is basically saying, you know, if they needed XRP to move like a $1 trillion transfer, well, if XRP, you know, needed to move $1 trillion, that they're not going to have enough XRP to do that. So they'd need the XRP price to be higher, so we'd use less tokens to be able to do the transfer, right? I get the logic. I understand that. But this is the thing. This is why I have part of the issue with this. So he's talking about banks or, you know, these institutions moving $1 trillion. What institution is ever going to move $1 trillion in one go? Like, you name me one entity, whether it's a government entity, whether it's, you know, a bank, a central bank, whatever, who moves $1 trillion in one transfer? That just doesn't happen. Now, you could say there's up to $1 trillion worth of transfers moved in a day, for example. So it could be broken down into numerous different amounts and it totals up to $1 trillion, for example. But nobody just does $1 trillion transfer. That just doesn't happen. And that's where my argument comes from this. It's like people are making out like banks are going to be making these big wild transfers and that's what's going to help increase the value. That's just not going to happen. That is not how this is going to work at all. So if you think about it from that perspective now, that it's lots of transfers broken down, well, think about it from this perspective. If you've got numerous transfers going, you know, ranging from like literally like $10 up to $10,000 to $150,000 to maybe like $1 million and stuff like that, well, you got to think XRP is being used within 3 seconds. So once it's used within that 3 seconds, it goes to be able to be used by another person, right? It's free again, it's available. So this is happening very quickly. And once the, you know, XRP token is used, it's once again available to be used again. So this is why I'm saying, like, it doesn't need to be that kind of price. And this is why when they say it's programmed, I'm saying, well, why do you think it's programmed? Because it's not going to be moving that kind of value in one go. That's just not going to happen. So, you know, like making an argument as to that's why XRP needs to be $10,000. It's like, but no bank will need to use it to move that kind of money in one go. That's just not realistic at all. That doesn't happen. So straight away, I'm like, yeah, I don't really agree with this. You know, like your argument is something of like really like a fallacy because, you know, banks are just, well, no entity is going to like move $1 trillion in one go. That's just not going to happen. So here we go. We've got here like industry pushback about this. So, you know, you've got people who have come out and, you know, argued against this. And this is the thing that I really wanted to get into about this. So you've got this guy, Alex Caraco, former CEO of an Australian stock market firm. And he says, it's sad to see buyers sold the story of $10,000 XRP happening tomorrow. And that's the key point that I wanted to get into about this, right? Because this is the thing that keeps happening, and this is what I had a problem with. And I said this in my crypto group because some of them still believe in the $10,000 stuff, and some of them know that I don't believe in that no more. So basically, right, I was speaking to one guy who believed XRP was going to reach $10,000 by I want to say 2022, if I remember rightly. And I said to him, okay, if XRP doesn't reach $10,000 by the end of 2022, what are you going to do? Like, will you start to question if this is true or not? And he said, yeah. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, let's just let time do its thing then, and we'll see what happens, right? And of course, XRP isn't $10,000. He just moved on to a whole nother theory, which was still about XRP reaching $10,000, but he just moved on to a whole other thing. And this is the thing about what this guy said happening tomorrow. It's the thing of people always pushing the goalposts of moving the dates and moving the dates and moving the dates and keep going, because to me, that's the issue, right? Like, people keep saying it's going to happen, and the problem is, like, this guy's given a date, but it's 2 years, right? Like, let's be honest, I don't even know if I'll still be a content creator in 2 years to come back and address this, but a lot of people would have forgot about this in 2 years. And to be honest with you, there'll probably be a whole new thing about why, you know, XRP is going to reach $10,000 in another 2 years or in another year, right? It's that thing of you keep chasing tomorrow. And I'll show you this evidence because this is something where I covered this on my channel. So this was about a former time when people believed XRP was going to reach $10,000 in 2021. So I've got it here from the AI, just giving a breakdown. The idea of XRP reaching $10,000 in 2021 due to an ISO migration is highly unlikely and largely based on speculation rather than realistic market analysis. While XRP's compliance with the ISO 222 standard is a positive factor for its integration into traditional financial systems, a $10,000 price point would require an astronomical market cap that is currently considered impossible. Okay, so forget the market cap thing. The point that I'm trying to get back to here is that there was a point in 2021 where everybody thought XRP was going to reach $10,000, and this was due to the migration of ISO 222. And I remember, like, when the date was coming up, I want to say it was in November. I think at first it was in July, and then I think it got pushed to November. And I said on both dates, I said, guys, nothing's going to happen. I'll keep saying it, like, nothing's going to happen. I kept telling people this, and nothing happened. And the thing is, what some people have said now is, like, you know, the deadline's not fully finished yet for all banks to migrate over. So they kept saying, well, you know, you've got to wait for the deadline for all banks to migrate over. So again, pushing the goalposts, right? But my argument is this, is like, okay, even if you're saying for all banks to migrate over, you've still got a good amount of banks who had migrated over in 2021. And the price didn't move substantially at all. There was no significant rise in the price at all. So even if you could say, like, okay, well, at the beginning of the migration when it first opened up, you know, XRP went up to, let's just say, $100. And then, you know, by the time the full deadline's reached and all banks have migrated over, then you're going to have XRP at, let's say, $1,000 and $5,000 and eventually $10,000. That didn't happen. Nothing happened to the price. And so this is what I mean. Like, people keep, like, clinging on to these dates because they just want to believe the lie, because they just want to believe this stuff. Yeah, they just want this to be so true that they'll cling on to any little thing that gives them any kind of bit of confirmation bias to make them think that they're still going to have this $10,000 XRP. So I just wanted to show you this image. This is an image that I've always liked this. And look at this. You've got a guy here, Adam Grant, and he says, this cartoon says a lot about why people, relationships, and companies fail. And this is so true. Like, and if you want like a meme that goes for, like, my channel, this is a clear representation of my channel. So you've got here comforting lies, and you've got all the people queuing up comforting lies, and then you've got unpleasant truths, and no one's there at his desk. And that's literally what my channel is. I'm here giving you guys unpleasant truths, but you guys want the comforting lies. People just want the comforting lies. And I get it. Like, I get why these influencers are getting so many views and, you know, they get so much traction off of their videos, because the things that they're pushing out, of course people want to believe this stuff. Of course people want this stuff to be true. So I get it. I 100% get it. And this is why I said, you know, a while back, like, I accepted the fate of my channel a long time ago. I made a decision when I started my channel. I said, am I going to do this $10,000 stuff? But I just genuinely didn't believe it. And I just didn't feel comfortable lying for the sake of making money. That's literally what it was. Like, I could have come out here doing my channel of, yeah, XRP, you know, all the banks, $10,000, it's coming. I just didn't believe it. So I was just like, I'm just not going to do that. And that was my choice that I've stuck to, and I've done it the whole time. And this is, you know, this is where I'm at. So I accept that I'm a small channel because of this, but I'm trying to give you the truth. You know, like, I really am just trying to give you the truth here. So, like, for you guys who see this, like, understand that this is the true representation of what this is. Like, people want comforting lies. You know, like, somebody says to me on my channel recently when I was, you know, going against the 10K XRP stuff, you know, he's looking at my channel saying, like, oh, you've only got 2,000 subscribers. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm not here pushing the fantasy stuff. That's why. You know what I mean? That's quite clear to see why. So yeah, I'll leave it at this, guys. But you know, I've done so much videos as to why I've done the $10,000 stuff not really being realistic. I'm just gonna leave it at this now. I don't want to keep going on too much for it, but you know my stance on this, guys, and once again, this is another reason as to why I don't think this is realistic. But as I say, like, 24 months, let's see. I doubt I'll remember this, and I don't even know if I'll be a content creator in 2 years. Who knows? I've got no idea. But if I do remember and I am still around, I'll come back to it. Like, I'll happily come back to it, and we'll see. So this will be interesting, because at least there is actually a date on this, because a lot of people just keep saying, oh, it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And that's where people are like, it's like the dangling carrot, right? You just keep going for it, but you never know when it's actually going to get there. That's the way to keep people interested, right? That's the way to keep people locked in, because there's no set time frame. So they can just keep saying this stuff, but there's no deadline for them to have to reach to say that they're wrong. And that's how it works. So you've got my opinion on this. I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for watching this. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell. Take care.